It's Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Waike in the building. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
How are your holidays? You know that lady that gave us big bags with towels?
Towels, yeah.
I met her.
God bless
Oh,
her.
you did? Oh,
I love
yeah.
the towel.
She lives in, the towel is so fine.
Beautiful. I've saved my own.
What's the name? Something Bay. Hudson Bay, I think.
But I think that's just the name of where she bought the towel,
Oh.
I think, because from the bag, you know, her name is Eunice.
Oh, thank you so much,
you,
Eunice. We
Eunice.
love you. My husband.
get her name.
We didn't get them.
Yeah,
we just saw the
Nima just
gift.
sent
She
it
didn't
to
give,
us.
it's because she was in Nigeria and she wanted to come to the shrine.
Oh,
That's how I got to know. So she calls, she gets my number from Nima, calls me. I say, hey, you that you gave us this beautiful gift. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much.
I think she has left. She might not even be listening to the program. Maybe someone will tell her.
tell her.
Thank you,
Apparently
Eunice.
she
God
left
bless
yesterday.
you.
But she came to the shrine. I got to meet her. She came to watch Magi's show, so I was
Fantastic.
very happy to meet her.
Fantastic. How are you doing, Sakwe?
I'm good. I'm fine. I've been talking about my promo. I had an Instagram live with Foluke Daramola yesterday to further marketing of my Easter promo. Our Easter deal is on, where you buy 2 plots and get 1 free. Like, I don't know why you won't take advantage of it. We're making public announcements now. Don't say you did not know until after the promo. Nigerians like last minute.
And then they are rushing.
Honestly, everybody will not be asking. But we have an Easter promo till the end of the month. It gives you time to spread payments within the course of the month. But there are 4 locations on promo. You buy 2 plots, you get 300 square meter free, and it's a very good deal. If you are interested in acquiring real estate, talk to us. That's all.
Good. How are you doing, BC?
I'm doing amazing. I'm in my gratitude mode. I've
Yes,
been grateful to God for everything, both the ones that has manifested and the ones that
I was
haven't.
loading.
Yeah, the ones loading. I've just been keeping up with my meditation. Yesterday was so fruitful. Immediately I finished my meditation, there was something I'd been longing to write. I didn't know how to. It's been in my head somewhere. I just knew I was going to write it. But immediately after my meditation, I sat down and I was just...
It was flowing.
When I looked at the template, I'm like, okay, all right, this works. I'm going to keep doing
Spirit
it.
is aligned.
Yeah, so
Fantastic.
I'm in that space where there are no worries. I'm just good.
Fantastic. I lost my uncle yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah, he was quite sick.
which
My
of them?
mom's younger brother. He's in Abuja, HK Fuja, Hakim Kolakbo Fuja. Really, he's all rest in peace. He's been battling again with cancer. Past few months, been crazy. But I'm grateful that at least he was surrounded by his family. His closest people were with him. My cousins were there with him.
They say cancer runs in families. And your mom, didn't she have cancer as well?
it was
So,
something
It ended in that generation. It
Amen.
did not pass on to the children.
amen. No, she has a
for your
different DNA now. She has her father's DNA. So,
So he passed on, and I know because he's likely to be buried today because he's a Muslim. Hakim Kolakbo Fuja. He used to work in CBN. It's quite popular. He used to be very popular back in the day. HK Fuja was the man. You know? Back in the day, in the 90s, you know, he
Served.
He served the nation, and he's just a good guy. Fantastic. Loved tennis. Loved his work. You know. So sadly he passed on, but I'm glad he was with his family when in the last moments, and he's so rest in peace. He'll be buried today, and hopefully we'll find out.
So he's
more
Muslim.
details.
That's very fast. So
they will do
sorry for your loss.
the ceremony after, maybe
Yes,
8 days or 40 days.
We'll let the family decide, but passed on yesterday. May his soul rest in peace. Let's
Amen.
take a break. We come back. We go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, we're going to start with the nation. APC INEC to pull tribunal. Obi's petition a waste of time. Suspected Yahoo boys lynched in Ondo for crushing 2 to death. Governor-elect rejects life pension plan by incumbent. The Ajibola I Know, or I Knew, by Afe Babalola. Cash flow from banks still low, says NLC. NMA seeks better environment for doctors, others to operate. Pre-poll how Tinubu scaled 18 land mines in court. Mr. We're starting with the nation.
I'll take the human interest, the mob lynch of the Yahoo boy. He was driving in his Toyota car when he lost control. He was speeding. He lost control and rammed into a motorcyclist and some other people. The motorcycle and his passenger died. The other ones were injured and were rushed to the hospital. So the people who saw it, ran to help him. When they got to his car, they saw that he was he had fetish, what they call fetish things in his car. So they now decided to lynch him.
Thinking it was a Yahoo boy.
Thinking it was a Yahoo boy. They beat him into a coma. His parents heard and ran there. They beat them too. Join. The police now came, but by the time the police got there, he had died. They were saying he was in a coma, but the police said, no, it wasn't a coma. He was already dead.
To death.
They set his car ablaze, and he was dead, and
Really sad.
So
very
the
sad.
Christian Association of Nigeria has slammed Friesland Campina, Wamco Nigeria PLC, makers of pig milk, for using the crucifixion of Jesus Christ as a metaphor to promote their product on Good Friday. They said that's according to the General Secretary, Dr. Joseph Daramola. He said that the advert is insensitive, offensive, and totally unacceptable.
Can you imagine?
Adding that Good Friday is a solemn day for Christians all over the world, a day that they commemorate the death of our Lord Jesus Christ, who was crucified on the cross, and not a day to be used for crass commercial purposes. So he described the action is disrespectful to Christians and an affront to millions of Christians in Nigeria and beyond. And they are deeply disappointed that a company of such repute will stoop so low to exploit the religious sentiments of its customers for profit. So they are requesting that Friesland gives them a public apology for what has happened, or they would, take up the matter.
All right, so the governor-elect of Benue State, Father Hyacinth Alia, has initiated a campaign to block a life pension plan by the outgoing Benue State Governor, Samuel Otom. According to him, he called on the citizens of conscience to prevail on their representatives in the House of Assemblies across the state to reject such a bill when forwarded to them. He said that passing such a bill, the governor-elect noted, would deepen despondency of the state. And according to him, said the bill stipulates that after May 29th, Governor Otom should be allowed to go home with choice properties of government in his possession as his post-service package. He also said that he can choose anywhere of the country to be built a mansion, and also his medical trips and those of his family will be paid for by the state. So he's saying that for a governor who was unable to pay pensioners, he's now securing pension for himself, that it is wrong and that all the House of Assembly members within the state should reject it. However, the chief press secretary of the current governor, Governor Tom, has said that he has no idea what he's talking about, that this bill, that this, there's no such bill on ground, and that if it is on ground, let the House of Assembly be the one to take it up and respond accordingly, that he is not going to say anything about that.
So good news to the people of Nasarawa State, as their ex-Nasarawa deputy governor, who was kidnapped, has been released after paying ransom. So they started the ransom. He was kidnapped at the palace. Let me get the palace name. He was kidnapped at the palace of the paramount ruler of Wamba, Oriye, Ringdri area of Nasarawa State. And the kidnappers demanded 70 million naira for his release. And the family said they couldn't afford that amount of money. So they started negotiation from 2 million to 4 million. They paid the 4 million naira, added some recharge card, dropped the money exchanged hands at a primary school. They said Manda Hill Secondary School, rather, and the man was released. The deputy governor of Nasarawa, the Commissioner for Information, confirmed that, thank God, he has been released. So we thank God that the man has been released. There are many others that are still kidnapped. We still need to beef up security to avoid this, because some people could not afford the money to pay for the release of their loved ones.
The Punch. APC kicks as Northern senators insist on Senate presidency. Easter, Lagos FCT residents celebrate and are grateful for surviving the cash crunch. Enumerators indicted for sexual harassment will be dismissed as NPC. Police arrest suspect in Instagram cloth vendor's death. Nigerian unemployment rate to hit 41% in 2023, says KPMG. Port reconstruction will cost $800 million, says NPA boss. UK restriction can't stop doctors' migration. Buhari should suspend fuel subsidy removal, declare marketers. Okay, which story are we starting with?
I have a human interest story inside the paper. So a bartender in Yang, Isaiah, allegedly killed his colleague Kingsley Kato during a fight at a hotel on Ojuelegba Road in Surulere. And according to the story, they said both of them were attending to customers at the bar when they started a conversation which degenerated into an argument. And while the other colleagues were trying to separate them, they started fighting. According to a part of the story, it says when they started fighting, they had to use weapons against themselves. But one of their colleagues, who was an eyewitness to what happened exactly, said they didn't use any form of weapons. But as they were fighting, they fell on broken bottles. And the bottles started piercing them. They didn't stop the fight. They continued rolling over the bottles as they were fighting each other. So one of them, the bottle pierced his neck and his chest. The other one, his stomach and his sides. The one that the chest was pierced was rushed to the hospital. He could not make it. He died. So they have called for their parents to start coming. Both of them actually come from the same village. They are coming to Lagos. The police is involved in this. And, you know, the management of the bar was saying that the other colleagues did not do well. They were supposed to have reported to the security officials when they started fighting and didn't want to be separated. It's just a painful story.
Another human interest story.
Yes.
Is there was this Instagram cloth vendor who died in the hotel. She had checked into the hotel with a guy, his name withheld, and he left in the morning. And they would not have known till it was 12 noon checkout time, but she had borrowed the charger, what do you call this?
Yes.
Power bank of one of the staff. So they went to get it and met her. She was almost dead. She hadn't quite died.
Okay.
So they rushed her to the hospital, but she died. They called the guy, because the guy too is their customer.
Right.
Because police now started saying they're looking for him.
Yes,
so he came,
yeah.
you know, and then they arrested him. He's the prime suspect. But he came voluntarily.
Himself,
yeah.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. So
they said they're investigating the cause of her death.
yeah. The Nigerian Population Commission has warned that its ad hoc staff, they want their ad hoc staff against sexual harassment during the upcoming population, which is billed for May 3rd to May 5th. According to them, they said that the sexual exploitation, harassment, and abuse have been dimensions and manifestations and happen mostly during times like these. They gave this assurance that there would be zero tolerance for sexual exploitation or abuse during the census, vowing that any of its staff caught in the process shall be dismissed, especially from leaders within the ad hoc staff. So they're expecting that. I was actually surprised that of all the planning towards the population census, is this issue that came up. So obviously, they're probably speaking from experience, where leaders who have been appointed for this census take advantage of other members of the staff within this period. So they're saying that if you're a victim of any sexual harassment, please report to the commission, and they will definitely ensure that everybody involved is dismissed.
So I'll take the story of the UK restriction.
Let me go on a quick break. When I come back, I'll take your story. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Still on Punch?
Yes, I was going to take the story about UK restrictions and the response from the medical bodies in Nigeria. They have said that the UK restriction, let me highlight the UK restriction. The UK placed 54 countries that the WHO has said have challenges within their health sector, that they won't be recruiting doctors from such states, such countries, and they are advising other countries not to recruit from them because, according to them, countries on the list should not be actively targeted for recruitment by health and social care employers recruitment organization. and this is because the countries are on the WHO Workforce Support and Safeguard list. They are graded red. The response from the NMA president, Dr. Uche Ojema, in response in an interview to Punch, mentioned that there is freedom of movement. People will migrate. There are many other countries. There is Saudi Arabia, Grenada, Canada, America, Kuwait,
yeah.
Saudi. Like he just said, there are many other
South
places that they can go to. That that he doesn't begrudge UK for their restrictions, but that he feels the Nigerian government are not investing in the health sector is what is pushing Nigerian doctors into seeking greener pastures. And so the restriction from UK cannot stop them from relocating to other parts.
All right,
of the
so
world.
it's our topic today. We're still going to discuss it. We're going to have some experts a bit later. But let's move on now to Vanguard. 2023 polls, candidates from 10 parties filed 436 petitions. NBET pays Genco 614.9 billion naira for power generation. Terrorism, hunger looms as farmers abandon farmlands in Kaduna local government. Fake news, not our duty to monitor social media. That's NCC. Insecurity, Buhari leaving Nigeria far better than he met, it says presidency. Kidnappers, bandits resurfacing in Ekiti, says Governor Oyebanji. Benin Port, Edo NPA, BPE, ICRC complete request for qualifications. Obi right obedience amid barrage of attacks. Motorcycle importation falls 42%.
That's good.
212. That sounds interesting. Concerned Northerners vow to defend Tinubu's mandate. Okay, which story are we starting with?
So farmers in Benin Gwari local government area of Kaduna State have abandoned their farmlands over the resurgence of terrorism and other criminal acts in the rural communities. So speaking to Vanguard's correspondent yesterday, traditional title holder Adan Masani Berenungwani and former managing director of Kaduna State Media Corporation, Zubairu Abdurauf, said that less than 20% of farmlands in the local area were being attended to, as the local farmers have run away from their life, for their lives, leaving the terrorists to hold sway. According to him, said the issue of banditry, kidnapping, and burning of villages is what is discouraging these farmers and definitely going to be sending famine to the land. He said as of last year, it was only 45% of the arable farmland that was farmed on. Now they are not even thinking it will get up to 15 to 20% for this year because of what has been happening. And he said these terrorists are coming back in full swing. They keep writing letters telling the villagers that they are coming in. They kidnap, they kill some of them anytime they come, and they are requesting for money. He said these people are actually very poor people. They don't have any form of money to give them. So a lot of them are running away from their ancestral lands. And so even if the government decides to bring military to, secure the express, they may not be able to get to the hinterland. So they need a collaboration between the military and the security, local security agencies to see what they can do so that people can go back to their farms.
So Governor of Ekiti State, Governor Abiodun Oyebanji, was saying yesterday that he has heard and has expressed concern over the resurgence of kidnappings and other criminalities within the state. He was saying this when he was having a meeting with Ekiti West local government and the Ikameta local council development area meeting yesterday. Yesterday, he said that he charged the chairman to collaborate amongst themselves with residents of the area and government at all levels to end the criminal activities. He's quite concerned that these kidnappers are resurfacing, and some areas they must sit down and see how they can help each other. That they can do, they will give them the support from state level, but really, security starts from local level, so they must be vigilant amongst the communities and know what's going, who is coming in, who is going out. And the local government chairman within his plans to have more meetings with all the various local government.
Did you not just read that the president is saying they are leaving Nigeria safer than when they met it, and then immediately after reading the headline, we are taking stories of
that's one state
in kidnapping. This is a different state.
Another state.
A different state. I took a different state.
Yes.
That's 3 states now.
Different states. But follow-up towards the elections, 2023 polls were having candidates from 10 parties filing a 436 petition. Courts and the lawyers are chopping. Anyway, the APC, PDP, Labour Party, AA, APGA, APM, all go to trial despite the complaints about the election. INEC is saying that this 2023 election was better than 2019 election. According to them, they say that in 2019, there were 807 petitions. So the fact that we're seeing 436, sometimes we forget what happened in the past. So INEC is saying, yes, people have a right to petition, but we are even having less petitions now, meaning that the elections went better than before. And even that if we look at the primaries that parties conducted in 2019, it was this 2023 primaries before the election was far better. So there's major improvement. He said in 2023, we had 1,370 pre-election suits as compared to 370 in 2019. So articles people are saying they are short of victory. Oshutokun is saying they have a watertight case. People are very optimistic. The APC is saying concerning the presidential election that Labour Party has no case, but the Labour Party has gone to court to fight for their mandates.
Daily Sun, very quickly, clock calls for ministers' arrest trial over treason allegation. Kanu won't abandon struggle for Biafra, says IPOB. Concerns grow as Nigeria's foreign investment declined for third straight year, down 20%. Buhari leaves for Saudi Arabia. Any Muslim aspiring for Senate president is disrespectful to leaders, and Buhari, says APC National Working Committee. Can slams makers of peak milk over the insensitive Good Friday advert. Obedience must bear attacks as sacrifice for new Nigeria, says Peter Obi. And Ebonyi Ogba, PDP defer on 2023 polls, rallies support for governor-elect in Wifuru. Okay, so let me starting with Daily Sun, an article from a member of the National Working Committee of the APC, Mr. Salisu Lukman, has declared that any Muslim senator-elect aspiring for Senate president is being very disrespectful to the leaders of the country and the party, disrespectful to president and the president-elect. According to him, he wondered why contests for the principal officers of the 10th Assembly should be reduced to cash and carriage, where, according to him, two senator-elect are already trying to pay money, offering to buy jeeps, so people, if they can vote them in. That worse, to make it worse, they're actually Muslims, that any Muslim who has been elected in the National Assembly should not even try to become Senate president, because that would be totally disrespectful to and heat up the politics. He said, besides, given that the two persons allegedly involved in this cash and carry approach on mobilizing support are Muslim, it would be gross insensitivity to the peace coexistence of the country and disrespectful to Nigerians to allow them to continue to aspire for the position of Senate president. Okay, the Nigerian Tribune, I think our last paper for today. Key players kick as more states move to build new airports. Tin Can Port risk collapse if nothing is done, says NPA. Suspected Yahoo boy crushes 4 to death, injures others in Ondo. 19 constitutional amendments bill rejected by Buhari have automatically become law, says Falana. And 359 bills passed through third reading in House of Reps in 45 months. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Can I start with the Tin Can Port complex? Okay. It says the managing director of NPA, Mohammed Belukoko, he was on TV, on a TV program, when he said that the port is it's on the brink of collapse if it's not rehabilitated soon. He says that also the Escavos in Calabar too that one is even worse, and they need $800 million to rehabilitate the dollars. Yeah, he said dollars.
Yeah.
But also, he said they have increased their revenue.
So they deserve, they can afford it.
They can actually afford it. He said they've gone from 250 billion to and 300 billion to 361 billion, revealing that the contribution to the federal government, CRF, has increased by 91 billion. So they are actually making money.
So they should be allowed to make more money by increasing their facility.
Yeah, so this is one of the problems of Nigeria. We do not stop the problem before it's...
It escalates,
Escalates.
yes. It's teaching
We
times
wait.
9.
Yeah.
Until it's really, really
Usually
critical.
wait.
If we had been doing regular maintenance, we probably wouldn't be needing 800 and something
Billion.
billion.
Do you understand?
Fix it.
Another Nigerian story. Don't
Yeah, it is.
even our own houses, how much of
That's not
maintenance
even,
we
that's
do?
not
The same
politician.
thing.
No.
You're
That's
right.
about politicians and that's about the civil service and the ministry processes.
Yes, it's about the system also. We don't even maintain it goes from little to big. We don't
Yeah.
maintain anything.
Yeah, you have a small hole. It's just like our road in Alagbole. It started as a small hole.
And then it
And
starts
then
to
it's
stand
now
big.
a crater.
In the average Nigerian with small plumbing issue, you just be managing the tap. The tap is not working.
Yeah.
You leave the tap like
Yeah,
that.
you leave it. You abandon
just
it.
use another one.
Yes.
There's another sink.
Yes.
Before you know it, that sink is spoiled. You now use upstairs
When
sink.
everything now goes bad, you know,
until
you
the whole
know,
house
crumbles.
So that's a Nigerian factor. So it's easy
painful.
for us to pinpoint the government or the.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
I disagree with you because I have house.
And you maintain your house. But there are just a few of us that do that.
Okay. Have you rented out your apartment somewhere and they're living?
Don't go there.
It's crazy.
No,
That's us.
but that is
The majority.
When I say I don't like, it's not I want to face government. I'm just saying it is leadership by example.
I hear you, Waike, but
That
you
is
must
all.
always
I'm telling you the truth. If you are a bad influence to your children, they will grow up bad.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm also
major
saying,
one, sir.
I'm also telling you, anyway, it's not our hot topic too, but it's not always government. All of us too.
I'm just
All of us are
telling you
even
that
watching
if
TV like that.
you are a bad influence to your child, if your child sees you smoking cigar, coming out back late at night, when he grows up,
He will do the same thing.
So because
will do the
government
same.
did not change a light bulb in National Assembly, I shouldn't change my light bulb in my own house. I'll leave the dark alley dark because, hey, government did not change their own dark alley.
No, you didn't teach me.
I'm just telling you.
You didn't teach me.
We are part of the government, YK.
You didn't teach me what I
Okay.
do.
We have to go now.
We have to
We
go.
did not take an important story now.
Just telling you.
Sorry, Jare. It's Moriah that's always facing
We'll be right back.
Nigerians.
And I think it is always...
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So yesterday we started a conversation about the sponsored bill seeking to curb brain drain by mandating Nigerian medical doctors to practice for at least 5 years in the country before going abroad. Now, this has passed the second reading in the House of Representatives. So joining us right now today are all the key major stakeholders concerning this conversation. We have with us Dr. Uche Roland Ojima, who is the President, Nigerian Medical Association. We also have the Honorable Ganiyu Johnson, sponsor of the bill himself. We have Senator Yahaya Olorigbe, who is the Chairman, Senate Committee on Health. And they'll all be joining us to have this conversation. But let me start with Honorable Ganiyu Johnson. Good morning, Honorable. Are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. So you sponsored this bill. I know you've been talking about this for a while. Let's start from the beginning. Why did you think there was a need for this bill in the first place?
Okay. About a year and a half ago, I sponsored a motion seeking for the upgrade of our medical facilities, review of welfare packages of medical doctors, and government to collaborate with private sectors, especially insurance companies, to fund the project, because the motion was on medical brain drain. All right. So the second part of it is to now look at the law, because the decline, the capital flight of medical personnel was becoming unacceptable. Because with 200 million people, we have been chasing very few doctors, and we are below the World Health Organization standard. A doctor to 600 people. In Nigeria, a doctor to almost 20,000 people. It's unbecoming. So I now say, okay, fine. What we can do is to look into the laws. I know after graduation from medical school, I mean, you do your housemanship 1 year, you do your NYSC 1 year. So instead of this capital flight, we can now, find an IP, a stopgap that people can now remain and stay another 3 years, cumulatively making 5 years. Within that 3 years, they can also do their residency. It's win-win for them.
Right.
They can start their residency program. Do you get it? So
Right.
that at the end of the day, when they start their residency, they are specialists. So they can, after that residency, they are free to go.
Right.
That's all. That's the means.
Okay. Let me pause you for a second because
I'm looking at Nigeria as a whole.
Right.
That we have over 200 people.
Right.
Chasing very few people. And we still have these doctors going, government has trained them, and somebody is like low-hanging fruits for the people abroad.
All right. Let me pause you, sir, for a second because I'd like to bring in
Okay.
Dr. Ojima here. Dr. Ojima, the Honorable has told us the reason why he proposed this bill. He's trying to solve a problem. In your view, do you think this is the best solution at this time?
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me clearly.
Very clearly, sir.
Loud and clear.
So thank you very much. While I want to thank everybody in the studio and others that are listening, I also thank the Honorable because it has become clear from the bill he sponsored that there is a great need for the Nigerian doctor. That's one thing that has been established. Though the intentions of the Honorable may be honorable, if I use that word that way, I don't think he really looked at the implications. The solution to diarrhea cannot be plugging the anal orifice. You don't just block it and say, let the diarrhea continue to stay in there. And of course, the solution to brain drain cannot be enslavement. None of the two is good. Now, what I want the Honorable to understand is that the solution to a problem lies in finding out the origin of the problem. Why are Nigerian doctors leaving? Why are they emigrating? It is because they are not loved in their country. There is no love for the Nigerian doctor. The government doesn't love the Nigerian doctor. The patients don't like the Nigerian doctor. Maybe it's a psychological thing because we take care of you in your moment of weakness. So you have developed this aversion to that person that you may be seen as playing God. Why are Nigerian doctors leaving? They are poorly paid. There is no security. They are being picked up like granules. They are...
Hello, sir. We lost you. Okay, so we lost him for a moment. But let me let the ladies jump because we also have Senator Yahaya also, who is also okay.
There must be a policeman around. So we need similar things for us also to function very well. And now, one thing I want all people to remember is that at that moment you pause for 5 years, you cannot have a youth corps. A medical youth corps cannot emerge for 5 years because you need a full license to practice on your own, which is what happens in youth service. Nobody can join residency training because you need a full license to also do that. Nobody could become a medical officer from that batch for 5 years. And therefore, we will end up enslaving the Nigerian doctor and not having one that will work for us at a certain cadre. So there will be empty.
Hello, sir.
Well, having network.
Okay, so we keep losing our guests, but let me just try to redirect the question to, I don't know who you want to ask.
Okay, so I don't know if this is going to be a question, but I like the way Professor Ojima started by saying you don't solve a problem from the top. You have to find the root cause and, you know, look at all the angles before you start preferring solutions. And you must consult with stakeholders and people who are direct beneficiaries of this particular, ideology or law or bill that you're passing and see how they feel about it. So this thing that the Nigerian educational system is highly subsidized, I beg to differ, because it's not like we are at the best or we are international best standard is what we are giving in our educational system. Of course not. Our educational system is cheap because of the level of the education that we are given. So if you say the Nigerian educational system is subsidized and so people should stay back, doctors should stay back and give some time to the country before they relocate, that means it's not just only doctors that it will affect, if you really want to look at it. Even people who studied economics, political science, as long as you are in the Nigerian system, you must stay back and give back if you truly say that the educational system is subsidized. What this bill is going to do is it will make a lot of people choose not to study medicine. Because the truth of the matter is everybody wants to preserve. Your parents cannot suffer, send you to school, and then you are kept from having the life that you desire. So have you looked at it from that angle where students might decide to, okay, why don't I go for something like physics or chemistry or what's that one? Biochem, instead of studying medicine so that they do not delay me from leaving the country. Do you think this will actually solve the problem?
That's probably to Honorable Gani. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is it for me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. For me, I think we are not solving the problem. I told you in my preamble that the first thing I did was to raise a motion, and that motion on this brain drain. And in that motion, I highlighted my prayers to you, looking at the welfare package of medical personnel. Also, some of our health facilities, such as the public health centers, to be maintained and upgraded to general hospitals. General hospitals to be maintained and upgraded to specialist hospitals. The specialist hospitals to be maintained and upgraded to research institutes. And finally, I said government to collaborate with private sectors. Private sector, especially the insurance companies, that will be able to finance, fund the project. With that in mind, I believe that even the 5 years, like I told you, the 5 years period I'm talking about, it's inclusive of their housemanship, it's inclusive of NYSC periods. The remaining 3 years will enable them to embark on their residency, which make them specialize in their different fields. So at the end of the day, it's win-win for them and for the nation. Because at the end of the day, we will have specialists in various fields.
Right.
And we'll be turning out, it's a cyclic thing. We have students in medical school that will come, they will still do residency, they will still do NYSC. It is a cyclic thing.
All right.
So, in a period of about 20 years, you see that Nigeria will be a place where we will be like India, where people will not come to Nigeria for surgery. We can even generate revenue from it.
Well, let me pause you for a second because I would like to bring in Senator Yahaya Oloregbe in this conversation. What are your general thoughts on this bill? Let me come to you before we go on a break.
Okay. Do I go ahead, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, Morayo.
Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. I think my general thought is that the bill does not look at the issues in a more comprehensive manner. First and foremost, just like your colleague has said, it's not only medical doctors that are exiting the country or migrating from the country. We have all kinds of professionals. But let's come to even within the medical profession or the health profession. It's not only doctors that are existing. We have nurses going in drugs, even much more than doctors. The other thing is that he does not, with due respect to my honorable colleague, the doctors that are leaving are not even the fresh graduates. Unfortunately for our country, are those that have been trained and specialized on the specialization that are almost finishing. And in terms of critical needs, those are even more critical than the fresh graduate that the bill is trying to propose for them to stay more for 5 years. The reason is this: most people or most countries don't take in fresh graduates. They try to take in people that are fast further training after graduation. In fact, within the profession itself, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria by last year had to institute a kind of system to prevent people that have done, we call it, when you are specializing, it's a 3-stage thing: primary, part 1, and part 2. After part 1, which means you have spent an additional 4 to 5 years post NYC, then you only have to produce a dissertation. By that time, you can be given a membership. With that membership, countries are taking them on. And mind you, the countries that are taking are not even developed countries only. We have the Eastern countries. So that's one issue, to say that when you are looking at issues of health professionals, we have something we call human resource for health management. So a bill like this does not, in fact, it's not looking at the issues at all. It's not about talking about fresh graduates.
Oops. Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. I'll take a few questions from Tokwe and YK. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guest with us. Tokwe had a question for one of our guests.
Senator Yaya Oluregbe, yesterday when we started this conversation, I mentioned the fact that the real beneficiaries of this policy, if pushed, will be the average Nigerians. And from what you're saying, it seems like you don't see the merits in this conversation. What would you propose as the ideal short-term solution to the crisis we have in medical practitioners migrating?
Okay, thank you very much. I think my proposal would be to look at the issue comprehensively from the issue of our production of health workers. How do we produce it? How do we utilize them? As well as looking at the investment we are making to health to terms of production and utilization. Just like somebody said earlier, even the education, in terms of training, what do we contribute? Of course, the law is bringing everybody together. Now we seem to have less number of people, unlike before, being produced through the public sector, because there are many more private universities that are producing health workers. We have also a lot of Nigerians who train abroad, who pay for their own. So these ones, we cannot say you want to even bond them. But even those that are going through the public sector, we have less number of people studying science now. It means we have to start from there. Now, two, is what we have said, the problems of people going out are because of remuneration, because of working tools, working environment. When we talk about working environment, a doctor posted to rural area, we have to think about where will my children get school, what will happen to my family, then the issue of security. So we need to look at all those issues. There are issues within the sector, there are issues without the sector. Except we look at them comprehensively, we cannot just come and say we put a ban on fresh graduates. And as I said earlier in my earlier submission, in fact, the doctors that are going are not the fresh graduates more. There are more of those that are who have had some postgraduate level of training. And those ones are the people that we have invested much more resources on, and those are the people that will need more to deliver quality health services.
So, sir, you just highlighted the problems we haven't solved. You know what I'm saying is, what will be the short-term solution? Because in your position, what are you going to move to ensure that we at least stem this?
Let me direct that to the enemy, doctor.
I think the short-term solution, which is part of, is about improving the working environment or working conditions of health workers generally, not doctors in Nigeria, so that more will stay. There's nothing we do, no matter how much we pay and so on, you still have some people will go for one reason or the other, as it happens in every country in the world, particularly developing countries. Even in the developed countries, I was in Ireland of recent, and I learned that nurses and so on train there from Ireland go to Australia. Yes. That is from developed one to Canada. But in our own situation, the short-term solution is to increase our investment in health. Currently, the resources we allocate to health in the country is very small.
It's not
to
enough.
be able to get resources to retain health workers generally.
All right, let me come to
Hello, Morayo.
Yeah, we heard you very clearly. Thank you very much, sir. Let me move to Dr. Jim, the president of the Nigerian Medical Association. I have always had the standpoint that you can't stop anybody from leaving. but you can't attract them back home because there are lots of Nigerian doctors who live abroad who will be willing to move back home. What is NMA doing to provide some kind of enabling environment to attract Nigerian medical practitioners across board from wherever they are to come back home?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barayo. From the perspective of Nigerian Medical Association, I wish to inform you that we are in constant touch with all the unions of the Nigerian doctors in diaspora. In fact, we have a blog where I interact regularly with them. Let me also tell you that some of them, like the Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas, have been having medical outreach in Nigeria, trying to give back. Let me also inform you that as we are talking now, they are actually shocked that somebody contemplated enslaving Nigerian doctors, and they will put out their position very soon worldwide. So we are in constant touch, and it's not as if they don't want to come back. They want to come back, but come back to what? Come back to a house officer anyone 214,000 naira a month. Come back to a medical officer earning 310,000, 330,000 naira a month. You can't come back to that.
So,
so are you still there? I think he's frozen. He might be stupid. Hello, sir. We lost you.
NYS is all about if we are not paying back. Where you go to earn 15,000 naira as a doctor, 50,000 naira as a doctor. Is that not enough? Must we give our blood? Because we pass through the same system that everybody passed through.
Yes, no.
Look, there is no two ways about it. If you want me and you need me, you have to sit down with me to discuss. And we have sat down with the Ministry of Health and a committee set up on curbing brain drain. The Nigerian Medical Association have put forward their memorandum clearly. You have to pay these people a living wage. You have to improve the security situation. I'm sure you saw my press conference, the press briefing on a doctor that was murdered at Ohana. Nobody really of note. Forget what they say. When you go to them, they tell you some people have been arrested, but that the principal culprits are on the run over 3 months now. Doctors are being attacked because patients and their relatives are upset by the economic situation. So any minimal thing they attack you, we need to cover all those issues. We want the national legislature to make a law to protect us from violence against health workers. Let me also point out that it is worthy to tell Nigerians that for over 1 year now, a bill to amend the Medical Dental Practitioners Act to bring it up to speed with current realities have been sitting in the National House of Representatives waiting for concurrence for more than 1 year, haven't been passed by the Senate and sponsored by Senator Olori Ekpe. We thank him very much. But please, can the National Assembly please pass give concurrence to that bill to properly regulate medical practice that has been brought up to speed and has been with them for more than 1 year. The Nigerian doctor is patriotic. That is why some of us are still here. Madam, if you give a man a car loan or give him a mortgage to have a house, will he run away before he finish paying all those things? They know what to do. But there is what is trying to come now that is like legislative dictatorship. Is what I call it. It's legislative dictatorship.
Let me get
so let them calm down and let us sort out this matter amicably.
All right.
Thank you.
My question is just to the senator. You heard what the doctor said. Don't you agree with him? And shouldn't you be...
Okay, that's for the House of Reps, Honorable Johnson, who actually used the... Sorry, why can't take some water?
But I can't hear them again. Maybe they've...
Honorable...
I am hearing you today.
Honorable Ganius Johnson, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, YK has a question for you. Go ahead, YK.
Yeah, did you hear what the doctor, the enemy president said? To me, it makes sense. If you make the doctors' working conditions good, give them a car, give them a house, give them things that they will not want to leave.
In my opening remarks, that was what I told you.
Yeah,
I said
yes.
I said there will be an upward review of their welfare working facilities, health facilities. So if all that, if
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
But Honorable, when it comes out,
There is still an opportunity. Madam, there is still an opportunity for public hearing. So
Okay.
during public hearing,
Yes, it's
there
just
will be
yeah.
board debate.
Conversation is
So,
ongoing.
I mean, this is just a preamble. It's just second reading.
Right.
It's still a long way to go. There will be public hearing. People will come. We will debate. Disagree to agree. We just want the best for our nation. That's all.
Awesome. So I like the fact that there will still be a public hearing so that people can, air their views. But I wanted to ask you, does this bill cover maybe our leaders' children who probably school abroad? Or, private individuals who have children who study medicine abroad?
That are in Nigeria.
Only those people who study in Nigeria. So this is,
Nigeria.
disenfranchising a lot of people who are hoping to have a better life after school. Excuse me, sir. I wanted to just land this point, sir. Because if our leaders...
Let me tell you, if they are abroad, they study school abroad, and they are practicing abroad, I mean, I can't force them to come.
Okay. So this again is going to disenfranchise the poor who cannot afford to send their children abroad to study. But we have leaders who are able to send their children abroad using our taxpayers. Hold on, sir, now. Let me land it, sir, please. Using taxpayers' money to send their own children abroad, those children are not disenfranchised. But we have our people who will be disenfranchised. So this, I repeat again, will make a lot of people feel there is no point in even doing this course in the first place. So I'm happy that we're having...
I disagree with you.
Okay.
I completely disagree with you.
Okay,
if you have, you see, medicine is a humanitarian job. If you have passion for medicine, if you have passion for it, no matter what you still do it, you still going for it. You are not going there to make money.
Wow.
Yes.
So passion will kill us now.
Money that is important. You want to save lives.
Interesting.
That's it.
Okay, let me go on a break, because sometimes when we have these conversations, we forget the most important people in this conversation. That's the Nigerian poor man who is hoping that the doctor that is treating me right now is not leaving in the next moment. You see, some of us can afford to have private doctors take care of us, but others don't.
Yeah.
So, we can see a lawmaker trying to propose. So the real conversation is, what's the real solution? As you said, short term, where today that doctor doesn't leave and can treat. Let's stay on. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue to have this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guests with us, and we're still discussing this matter. Let me come to Honorable Yahaya Oloriegbe, based on what is...
Just finished.
No, that was
okay, yeah.
Ganiyu, that was earlier. So, on Senator Oloriegbe, let me come to you. We had asked earlier, because my concern...
Hello, Morayo.
Yes, I'm glad that you're still there. My concern has been the fact that, we all want...
Hello, Morayo, I can't hear you clearly.
It's very faint.
Okay, let me then come to NMA. The president of NMA, since I can't hear Senator. Dr. Jima, can you hear me?
Both of us are not hearing you clearly.
Both of us are not hearing you. You are very faint.
Wow.
Okay.
The people handling it.
So,
Now you are clear. Hello, Morayo.
okay,
Yes. Can you hear me now?
yes, you can.
I can hear you now.
Okay, let me start with Senator Yahaya Oloriegbe. My concern is the fact that everybody is looking for some kind of a getaway for success. Everybody wants a better life. But again, there are people who don't have access. So, and my worry is that even though this bill tries to solve a problem to retain doctors, which you have told us that it's not even the newcomers that are needed. It is those who are well-trained that are leaving in droves. So, you said welfare is a solution. But the truth is that the government will tell you at this moment that how fast can we provide adequate welfare for all the doctors? Could you give us an idea of what kind of welfare you mean. Is it just for the houses and the cars? Or what exactly do you define as welfare to make our doctors stay back in Nigeria?
Well, I think basically it will be one appropriate remuneration that will be what we call living wage for the level of the profession that they are. I'm not talking of doctors alone. I want to speak for the health sector generally, because it's not only doctors that are living, including nurses and so on, because doctors cannot work without other professionals. Two, it is those conditions that just like NMA analyzed, which used to be there before. You have access to vehicle cars, you have mortgage for housing, and then you have education allowances and so on for your children that enable your children to be able to go to school that become necessary. These are possible if we increase investment to health, if we increase allocation to healthcare. For example, now I'm aware of the budget. We have huge resources that are going to certain sectors of the country that are, if you look at the national budget, you see what is in labor, you see what is in agri, and you don't see the physical thing there. This can go into health education.
Senator,
I will be able to get
let me cut in right here. Let me cut in here, because do you know that there's no amount of money you can give any profession in Nigeria that will match what they'll get internationally? Yeah. So where does the part of patriotism come in?
Yes, you may not match internationally, but you will have more staying. You see, whatever what you give, as I said, some people will still go. But now it is extremely too poor. There's other issues that I didn't mention. I think the issue of people getting jobs. As we talk about, there are doctors who, after finishing even their specialized training, they don't get placement. So what do you expect those people to do? Because there's no money. There are, if you go to many of the teaching hospitals, they have vacancies that are declared, but they will say there's no money, particularly the one in the federal government that I'm aware of. And in many states don't even recruit doctors. So we see, even despite the fact that people are going, not all that we have are able to get placement for them, particularly those that are specialists. After you have trained, after the residency program, you have to exit until when there's a vacancy. So the vacancies are not always declared. So for people, they move on. So these are some of the issues that we are talking about. So we have to look at it comprehensively immediately. So it's not about just banning for 5 years.
All right.
It won't solve any problem at all.
Okay.
So there are many quick wins. The quick wins, as I've said, the remuneration you are talking about are easy quick wins, because once we have more resources, the working conditions are quick wins. We should also, once we put more investment, we'll be able to place more doctors.
Right.
Because we also have to, there are areas that are in the rural areas, in areas of insecurity, you don't have doctors trying to go there. So these are issues that a new government, that when they come in and they look at this comprehensively, can be able to solve. But of course, we have to address non-health issues also to make people to stay.
Okay, so yes, there are many angles to solving this problem. I was going to first ask the NMA that did the NMA president look at the document that has passed the second reading? Because I remember the senator, from what the senator said, it seems like a whole lot was already covered that it seems the NMA isn't highlighting. So the first question will be that, did the NMA look at the document that has passed second reading, and do they feel that the entirety is just not worth it? Because one of the issues the NMA highlighted was the fact that people cannot, they cannot wait 5 years before having their housemanship. But the senator said the housemanship was already included in the 5 years. So it seems that the NMA might not have gone through the document appropriately. That's one. Number two is going to short-term solution. Because when we talk about, when you run organizations, you can't always compete financially with other, in terms of remuneration, but you look for non-financial remuneration, some of which we highlighted. So I like the House of Rep, the honorable that pushed this bill, that what are the things that can be done non-financially in the short term, providing loan services for people to get mortgage, because if somebody is earning 350,000 naira, with 3 children or 4 children, they cannot afford to pay for good schools or even be able to buy a house with that income. So what are the short-term solutions that can be added into this bill to see how we can go through at the moment? Yeah. There's a whole lot more to say, but...
Thank you very much. I believe it's for me.
Yes.
We looked at the document clearly. We have gone through the document. You see, what I was pointing out was not that you can't do your house job. But you are now perpetually left as a house officer for 5 years, no matter the terminology he uses. As long as you don't have a full license, you are a house officer for 5 years. Let the Honorable understand that.
Yeah.
Because after that 1 year of internship, where you practice with a temporary license, you quickly go for your permanent license. And it is now that full license that will make it possible for you to be called up to become a youth corper. Without full license, you cannot practice unsupervised, which is what the youth corper does. So in essence, Honorable wants to create a house job that will last 5 years. And in essence, no government institution will employ you as a medical officer without full license. Nobody will employ you into residency training without, in fact, you cannot even sit for primaries to join residency training if you don't have a full license. These are the things I want the Honorable to understand. I'm not saying that people cannot do house job, no, but you are stuck in house job for 5 years. That's what the Honorable is proposing.
Right.
And the second thing I want the Honorable to remember is that there are people that don't train in Nigeria. There are people that train abroad that come back to be inducted and then have their house job. They will also stay for 5 years without being sponsored. Or is there a point where it gets to, they say those that trained abroad continue, those they trained at home stay back?
You can always adjust
and against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Right.
Now, weak means, like you pointed out. See, the Nigerian doctor is not asking for the whole world. They just ask to be treated better. The people should take their knee off our neck. We are joking. We are joking badly. You see, why am I still in Nigeria? Because this is my land. I'm a black man. This is my place. My food is here. My water is here. My people are here. My social dependence is here. For me to uproot and move is an extreme decision.
Yeah.
And we don't take it lightly. So if we are not asking to be paid what they pay in UK or what they pay in USA, we are asking for what is commensurate for our own environment that the government we know can afford. We are asking to be treated nicely. As of today, based on the amended Personal Income Tax Act of 2012, we are, or 2014, no, 2012, we are being taxed for everything, including our core duty allowance. Can they take up some of those taxes that will increase our earnings? And also sit down to look at the welfare situation. We are talking about federal government workers everywhere. Why can't we talk about state government workers? How much are they paying people in states that they will not leave? The bread drain is hitting the states more because many of the state governors don't pay well. They don't even pay what the federal government pays. There are very few of them, like Delta, Akwa Ibom, and a few other places that pay well. Others still pay what doctors used to earn by 2009 and backward. So if you can look at adjusting the tax laws to increase our income, also adding more to it. Because as it stands today, some people are being given 40% of their salary as whatever allowance, while we are being offered some things like 23%. And it looks ridiculous. So they should take us seriously and stop trying to force us to stay.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Jima. Let me quickly come back to, I'll come to you, Mike, in a second. Let me go back to Honorable Johnson, because Dr. Jimba had said earlier about a bill that is still pending at the National Assembly. Hopefully this bill is supposed to also include welfare reviews and some kind of package to allow doctors be able to stay. What is going on with that bill, and how far do we have to wait, or how long do we have to wait for it to be passed?
I'm not in a position to comment on that because I don't know the level where the bill is. You know, we are on recess now, so I'm not in a position. Okay. Let me quickly react to what the senator said about the 5-year But
Doctor.
see, the 5 years, like I said, is inclusive of the housemanship, all right? And after the housemanship, as of today, what they do after housemanship, they give them full license. All I'm suggesting is that instead of the full license, they can give them temporary license so they can be able to operate. So they go and
They can't travel.
No, they do their, what's it called? NYSC. They can go and do their NYSC. After their NYSC, they come back, okay? The remaining 3 years, that will even enable them to register for their residency, which is a specialist course. At the third year, at the end of the 5th year, they will be given full license while they are still in their residency. The residency takes an average of 5 to 6 years before they qualify. Do you understand? So it's like a stopgap for the nation. I'm looking at it holistically. I'm not looking at doctors who, no. What is our nation going to benefit from this system? It's like low-hanging fruits for us.
Low-hanging fruits. Okay.
Yeah,
We understand the concept. Otherwise, we will continue to go round and round. That's why I say, no problem. There is still room for public hearing, where there will be robust debate on this.
All right. Let me get a question.
Okay. All right.
I have 2 short questions. One to the Honorable. Have you sat down with the NMA, or do you think you should sit down with them before you...
Yes, to fine-tune the
Before
bill.
Yeah, because that way both of you will work with the same, in the same
Yeah.
course.
What's the same objective? Yeah.
And then to the doctor, I wanted to ask, because we are talking about the government, but I know of private hospitals that do not pay their doctors well. And a lot of the doctors from these private hospitals leave. It's not just the government doctors that leave. The private hospital doctors too leave.
And the government can't employ everybody.
So do you lean on these private hospitals to pay their doctors well? Because I have had personal experiences of my doctor leaving as I was having my baby.
All right.
This was...
Way back.
Years back.
There are 2 questions. Let me start with Honorable Johnson. Waike was asking about who did you consult before this bill? Or have you sat with NMA?
Yes. No, you see, we have medical doctors in the house that are members of NMA. We discuss.
Okay.
Okay, so I cannot do it on my own.
Okay.
So I shared my views with them,
All right.
with the in-house doctors in the house.
Okay. Can I come back to Dr. because we have a little time. Dr. Ojimba, let you answer Waike's question. Ojima, answer Waike's question.
Yes, I heard what she asked, whether we lean on them. Of course, we are doing our bit. As of now, we are working on them. But you see, the fundamental thing is that we may not have a power of execution. We are working to push for what will be known as basic minimum acceptable salary for an average Nigerian doctor. But if government can pass it and make it a policy that you cannot go below this level, it will work. But if NMA is supposed to go from hospital to hospital to chase them, it cannot work. We believe that we need a basic minimum acceptable salary.
Right.
Like you said too, most of these doctors in the private sector, it is their investment per se. And so the limit of interference is minimal.
Right.
We urge them to pay their people well while we are pushing for what will be known as basic minimum acceptable salary for the doctor. Okay. Of course, the loss of service, human resource for health in the private sector of healthcare is immense. Some of them, their own hospital will tell you that, in fact, if you treat the doctors well, the young doctor will call you from the airport and say, well, I just don't want you to be stranded. I'm leaving. I'm at the airport already. So we'll keep on working. I believe that if we set a standard template, it will apply across board.
Okay, we have to wrap up, so let me just take a final question.
Yes, so, okay.
Yeah.
I quickly want to add, since we're going to be having a public hearing soon for everyone who would be a part of it, to fine-tune the bill in such a way that it would include, first of all, making sure that the welfare of these medical practitioners are enhanced, you know, as a way of keeping them, and also ensure that each governor is able to get grants and support. They should source for it. That's one of the things governors should be doing for their people to improve their medical care. It should be a part of the bill so that you know that as a governor, you are getting into a state, you have a responsibility to ensure that your medical practitioners are well taken care of state by state before we now move on to, you know, getting more resources from the federal government. This also would help to solve the immediate issues before finally saying maybe some people should stay back or not.
In quick addition, I feel that there are some areas that we are not, we didn't touch on this show today, which is the part of the non-financial, which security is a major issue for many doctors, which is an issue that cuts across every sector. But if we can do these other things, which is not directly putting money into the healthcare system, improving educational sector, improving security infrastructure, we would end up having a better society that the doctors would want to stay to live in. So we don't need to put so much budget into the medicine, but improving general infrastructure would improve the livelihood.
I think we can wrap up on it. Let me let everybody just say one sentence to wrap up. Let me start with Honorable Ganiyu Johnson. Just a final word as we wrap up this segment. Your final comments on this, sir.
Well, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to air my views.
Yes.
And I wish you good luck and happy Easter.
Thank you, sir. All right. Dr. Rolando.
You are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Ojimba.
Thank you very much, Mariah. I want to plead with the House of Reps to please quickly concur to the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act that has already been passed in the Senate, that has been sitting with them for 1 year. I want to call on the National Assembly to please make a law to improve the welfare of Nigerian doctors. They've made many laws and it has been implemented. Finally, let them remember to make a law to control medical tourism. That is where we are losing greatly. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Senator Olori Egbe, your final words.
Thank you very much. I think the thing that the bill has brought is to bring to the fore the challenges of human resource for health in Nigeria. And I think it will be an opportunity to use this to have a conversation around how we retain our health professional in Nigeria, to look at it comprehensively, but not just to say the bill to say come the 5 years for the fresh graduates, but to look at it, and just as we discussed, at what are the quick wins, what are the medium terms and long term in terms of retaining health workers in Nigeria. And I think this would be important, especially since we have opportunity of a transition of government now, to see that we retain more of our health workers to provide quality health service for our people.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. I mean, I'm happy that the National Assembly is thinking about this brain drain that we're losing and medical tourism to other countries. So it's a good solution. It's a good first step that they're looking for solution. However, we've heard so far that this proposed solution is still inadequate. It's not going to solve the problem. They need a more robust bill to ensure that we keep our doctors and also to attract them from coming back home. That's all we can take on this. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we discuss World Health Day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Still Tuesday, and where we discuss health on Tuesdays. So join us now as we mark the World Health Day is a maternal and child health expert, Dr. Benjamin Olowo Jebutu. He is also the chairman, Nigeria Medical Association, Lagos chapter, and it's yet to jackpot as of this morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
As of this morning, you are still
You have not jackpot.
So we have not just, so you have not left.
Just let's know first. Do you have it? Is it in the works? Are you going to jackpot?
I'm a very patriotic Nigerian.
Is your passport ready?
I have a passport, but I'm not jackpotting.
Okay, great. So now that we know that you are here with us as of this morning, because anything can change between this morning and after. What are your thoughts? Because I mean, it's still the celebrated World Health Day, May 7th. No, April 7th.
April 7th, yes.
And it's a day where we just reflect on the status of our health in our country. Just before you came in, we're talking about medical tourism and the National Assembly trying to stop or get a bill to reduce that. In your view, as a practicing doctor and a patriotic doctor who lives in Nigeria for now, what are your thoughts on where we are medically and how do we begin to improve?
I think we have moved forward a little bit.
Okay.
We have also moved backwards more.
Ew.
Because we are very reactive in Nigeria. We are not proactive. I remember the Ebola, when Ebola happened years ago, when we lost a very, very important medical doctor, a senior colleague, Dr. Adadevo. We didn't learn the things from Ebola. Because then COVID came again, we had to do the same thing over again. As a nation, I think we should have an important disaster management policy that helps us think about not just waiting for it to happen, understanding how this process happen. I'm glad that Lagos is already doing something about biosecurity and thinking about expecting research on how this evolves. Because if there's a viral problem, there can be another one in the future. You know, so but maternal health indices, we are still having some issues about increased maternal mortality, about infant mortality, as the case may be. But we have started having health insurance. In 1999, we started national insurance. There was a problem between me and Shell. But now, thank God, last year, it was not signed into law about NHI. It's now NHI, National Health Insurance Authority, that makes sure that every Nigerian that is breathing the air in Nigerian soil must have health insurance. I think it's good, but have we popularized it enough? No. Do people know about it? No. Do people understand what it means to have health insurance? And some very, very important ailments are not covered by health insurance, like cancer treatment. You know, cancer doesn't affect only the rich people again. It's affecting even the very, very poor people, and they cannot afford health care. They turn into prayer session, or they go to mosques and say it's about a spiritual problem because they cannot afford the health care. So for me, we have done well in some areas in healthcare. You know, we're having better diagnosis tools now. We're having better access to healthcare. People are asking better questions. There's better communication by the healthcare force. But the value of healthcare as owning it as a nation, we've not gotten there. I usually say a few things. If the government wants to be good government, they should own the system, own it. So, which means that if you say, I want to fix healthcare in Nigeria, I want healthcare that's obtained in Nigeria be my own resource. So if I have a headache, or I have an ear pain, or I have mouth pain, I don't jet out of Nigeria. I stay in that same country and I use the same health facility and I get it.
Which the vice president when he was sick.
That's it. Yeah. So the point is, we have not owned the process in Nigeria as leaders. We have not owned it.
All right, I wanted to follow up on something you said before I go to the ladies. You said something about Ebola, because I would have begged to differ a bit. I want you to give me clarity.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I know that the Commissioner for Health has been here. We've had a few people come that we learned from Ebola. That even when COVID came, we were better prepared because we had quite a few of all these, what they call those centers, those isolation centers already available. So we didn't catch us unawares. That's one. I'll come back now. I'll come to you.
Okay. And
even more recently, the lawsuit CMD was saying that the accident that happened with the train tracks didn't really catch them unawares because they're able to, there's a daily dry run of emergency. So some lessons were learned from those few experiences. Do you agree or disagree?
So the point is, COVID is what has learned now.
Yeah.
Ebola, we didn't domesticate Ebola's learning, but maybe because the Ebola was very hemorrhagic, but this COVID has helped us because now I know in Lasso they do drills of emergency drills now, but we didn't have that before COVID.
Okay, just to clarify.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
So let me throw in a question, because when we talk about, we've been discussing health all through today, even from yesterday.
Very
and
good.
it's a major issue because you don't have a country, there's no economy without your healthcare covered. And all of us on the show, BC will throw it in regularly that the politicians should use Nigerian healthcare sector. The first law they should pass if they want change in the health sector is to make it compulsory for them to pursue healthcare here. It is not, it will require a very high level of patriotism and sacrificial patriotism for them to pass that law.
Wow.
I don't see that happening anytime soon. So why don't we go into short wins, small terms, the small things that we can knock off. Can you be more realistic in your expectations of our politicians in implementing the health sector? They are quick to doing infrastructure because you can point to, I built the biggest hospital in this Kiniko. But outside infrastructure, what would you say are key areas that are being overlooked within the health sector that, if implemented, will cause a major improvement in the life of Nigerians?
Let me give a very simple scenario. What happens in developed world? Why is everybody going there? It's because they have a very, very strong PH system, primary healthcare system. I'm sure you live in an area, you don't know, I'm sure you can't even see where the PH hospital is. So for me, the local government must be very responsible. So this dichotomy between local government autonomy, state government autonomy, federal government autonomy, sometimes the focal point of the states of a particular, of the state executive doesn't align with the focal point or the thought process of the local government. So there's a disparity. Yeah. The local government, they don't own the PHCs. And one of the focal points for PHC is community participation. Yeah. So if you don't own it, somebody that has malaria and typhoid will now leave his house in Ketu and go and stay in Ikeja.
But in Lagos, it's not an example, because I know for a fact that Lagos PHCs are working.
Yes.
They are. And people are using them.
I'm saying
parts of Nigeria.
Primary health.
Okay. What I'm saying is that they are working, but how much popular are they? We need to make them very popular so we don't overflog our big general hospitals, our teaching institutions. Lagos is doing well. But if you look at other states, you have barely maybe one doctor. I remember I heard a story last 2 weeks about a doctor in one local government in Nasarawa, one doctor. In your local government, one doctor. Hey. So now look at the influx of and there's urban growth. No doctor wants to, no healthcare worker wants to work in rural community anymore. They wants to come to Lagos or come to Abuja where the money really is. You remember that we had this MSS stuff back in some few years ago, midwife scheme scale. Yeah. Where you have retired midwife go to villages, rural communities to treat people that have treat antenatal patients and get them delivered. But what has happened now? Boko Haram happened. They ran away. Bandits happened. They ran away. So people, there's no protected. Their lives are not protected. So for me,
go ahead. This is my own problem with your profession, the healthcare system in Nigeria. Okay. Everyone that is sick has typhoid and malaria.
That's not true.
That's the first diagnosis.
Before they start to treat you for typhoid, you might have something that if they diagnose it now can treat you. Instead, they will just allow the person to die because everybody has typhoid. Why I'm saying this is a staff of mine is ill. Well, staff of someone I know is ill. And they are treating him for typhoid and malaria, and this guy is not getting better. And I'm actually worried. So what are we going to do about typhoid? Because I know that typhoid is only if you go and drink water that you catch typhoid. But everybody now has typhoid.
So
it's the most common, so they have to eliminate.
Malaria is very endemic. We live in very, our environments are very poor hygiene and everything. But there are diagnostic tools to know malaria or typhoid. The point is this. Proper history taking is very important in getting the right diagnosis and testing to be done to be sure patient has this or that. But as I say, it's very common. People see malaria because it's what, and a lot of people in Nigeria too, as patients, want to hear, they say I get typhoid, they say I get malaria. Even before you go to the chemist, or you go to the chemist, they tell you, Oga, be like say I get malaria. Okay, be like say I get
it's like abroad, they think they have flu. Flu is like the most common thing.
Yes.
So we treat you for flu first. After it persists, they now...
Yeah, that's the
no,
point.
they don't. Yeah. They don't.
So the point is this. They tell you to do your personal hygiene. Steam yourself. take paracetamol. Then if it persists, see a doctor.
Well,
So
how do we have history when the doctor that treated you yesterday has jackpot today?
Okay, that's a different conversation. The conversation I want to say, because I like, and I know that this my, don't pinch me up because this is about you. So I like you to comment on this.
Okay.
My problem with those who always say that they must change the law, that all politicians' children must not live abroad or they must not school abroad. And I'm thinking to myself,
don't
they
like
must
the
not
law.
use medical, they must use medical services abroad. They must be treated in Nigeria. And I'm thinking that wouldn't solve the problem. I think for me, what would solve the problem is there's a bill where once you earn a certain amount of salary, maybe 500,000 naira, 100,000, 1 million naira a year, you shouldn't be allowed to travel abroad, even if you're a private citizen. Because the truth is that we as a people, we need to start being patriotic and say, do you want to fix this country or do you want to fix it?
I agree with you.
Because if everybody who is able to afford X amount of million, that means you have a good house, you have a decent car, don't travel abroad because you have headache. Stay in Nigeria because if all of us who have some money stay here to support and maybe you have as a philanthropy, that your money you want to go and buy a yacht, you want to go and buy London house, use it to maybe build a hospital or to invest in Nigeria. Maybe you won't have all these doctors jackpotting.
I beg to differ a little
Please.
bit. Let me
A little bit. Please, I'm waiting for you.
Let me say, the guy that works very, very hard and thinks about his economic trivialities in this country and makes money.
Yes.
And you tell him to stay in the country. But these politicians use our tax.
That's the
Our tax, our hard-earned tax, and they get fat.
All of these
Hold on a
benefits.
bit. Somebody, a lawmaker, a rep, gets about 30 million a month as salary, basic
Where did
salary.
you get that data from?
30 million basic salary and allowances and going forward. So not even a doctor earns that money in a year. You now say that somebody that works very, very hard
for his money.
for his money. No, so for me,
Right.
there should be regulation to how our taxes are spent.
That is it. Of our
It's
tax.
very, very
How
key.
many of us are paying taxes?
Our oil money is our own.
Let me,
Oil money is there. Oil money is there.
Moriah, hold on.
But
Moriah,
Nigerians, are they paying
Moriah,
taxes?
hold on.
Yes,
Moriah,
yes, paying taxes. You that are working, you're paying.
Moriah, hold on.
Yes, please.
What about the VAT tax? Everybody pays that.
Yes.
Everybody.
When you shop in
Everybody.
the supermarket.
Let me shock you now. There's a tax called SSB tax. Sweetened sugar buried taxes.
Whoa.
All of us are paying it.
I ain't
We're all
trying to
paying
see.
it. Now, some energy drinks have 40 cubes of sugar. Some sodas have 20 cubes of sugar. And for every sugar you eat, they pay SSB tax. We all pay it.
We
because
pay tax to kill ourselves.
Yes. to kill
Doctor,
ourselves.
do you realize the hospitals you go abroad are not being, they're not by government. It's private people like you who died and leave their property. Okay, you know, my children, we're going to build this. And many schools you attend abroad, it is private philanthropists
Yeah,
who have
but-
sponsored. So
because-
Moriah, we're not
somebody
abroad,
as a
please.
citizen
Moriah.
must be patriotic enough to say, this is my money, oh, hand it over to government.
Let's hear the
Please, I'm not
doctor.
spoken. No,
Let
I'm
me-
not asked a question here. We are not.
I'm just telling you that
Moriah,
Nigerians must begin to take
No,
responsibility.
Moriah,
Also,
hold on.
for the development of this country.
Yes,
Moriah.
we are not abroad. That's one. The basic amenities that they have there, we do not have it. So
Correct.
it's an unfair
Comparison.
comparison.
Correct.
When you want to say because they are doing this abroad, you are doing that. So that's one. Wait, secondly, if you choose to lead, if a private
Sacrifice.
individual, I'm not saying you should stop whatever you're doing. It's your money, you're working for it. If you choose to lead, you must set examples. You must own, I like the word you use, you must take ownership
Of the process. That's
that
it.
you want developed.
Yes.
And one of the ways to take ownership is to be a part of it. You cannot have access to travel out and then you are sorting issues for people who do not have that
100%.
access. You will not be involved. And that is where we are seeing where the issue
Don't
is.
wear the shoe.
They are not involved. They
Don't
don't
know
wear the
where
shoe. They
it's
don't
going.
patronize
How can
the
you-
hospitals. You cannot make any meaningful change because you are personally not involved.
How can you
So
say-
own the process.
How
That's
can you
it.
say you want to rule Nigeria or lead in Nigeria?
And you're living
then
in another
you are-
place.
Every time you are sick,
You cough.
go
You
abroad.
travel out.
Then
Private jets.
Your citizens cannot afford it.
Why
Then wait. Another person, Tokpa is now making her own money and she wants to go. You say she
cannot go.
But I,
Patriotism.
I'm
No,
ruling you.
That's not, no.
She's
Hear me
saying
out.
to cover
I'm saying
everybody,
everybody, both
No,
the
no, no.
politicians.
Let the
Hang in
leader
there.
start.
I've made you talk.
Let
Both
the
the
leader
politicians
start.
who we have selected, who we have elected, and those of you who are rich.
me.
There's a certain level
Let
of
the
wealthy
leader start.
Nigerians who too should be restricted.
They cannot
not to
be
leave this country.
restricted.
They
It's
must be
their
restricted.
personal
Let's
funds.
hear our
Doctor,
doctor.
you cannot be
Doctor.
appealing.
You
cannot
don't
restrict.
Let us hear our doctor.
Let's ask her a question.
Ask her, please.
I'm not your guest.
No, you are the guest today.
No, I'm not talking now. So we must ask you this question. Why should they be restricted?
Exactly.
Why do you think that if I'm not earning money from government, I'm making my own personal money?
Let me answer
why
that question.
should I be restricted?
Providing
Let me
all the
answer- let me-
amenities that
let
you
me
need
answer that
by
question.
yourself.
Because these people are possibly like, what, 1%? Hanging there? one president, politicians, add all of them together.
Add their money.
1%. All that money together, it's not going to build you the amount of hospitals you need.
It will
No, it won't. It won't build the amount of hospitals you need. The amount of schools you need, it wouldn't build it. What we need is all of us, all hands on deck. Because if we are first in Nigeria and say, you know what, I want to support this country in my own way, as a philanthropist or somebody who is very rich, I built these companies, it's my time to say 10% of my profit is going into this.
I'm already paying
10% of your profit have you put already?
Muriah,
Yes.
Thank you. Can I shock you a little bit?
Please shock us. Please shock me.
Now, you use taxpayers' money without recourse to the taxpayers. You don't think about them. That's first I talk about love for country. Love for country. The country made you. You take people's money and you are able to just live without any thinking. It's sad.
Sad.
Now, if you say that you want to fix this country, let me give you a scenario. If you want people to stay back in the country, fix the country.
Simple.
It doesn't take a lot to fix the country.
At all.
Make
Dedication.
power available.
Yeah.
Tell people and say, I, as the leader of this local government, I would not leave this my hospital, PHC.
I'll use here with you guys.
And we'll make it available 24 hours, 7 days a week, and we'll see ourselves
You will
prosper.
see the changes.
Okay.
It's important we own the process as leaders.
Lead by example. That is like leadership by example.
Yes.
Not leadership by proxy.
By proxy.
Point
By
taken.
example.
Or by
That's a
punishment.
very valid point.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr.
You are
Lowo
rich people.
Jebutu, for joining us this morning. That's all we can take on today's show. It was just a conversation. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye.